Okay everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the succulent jade forest, starting a new one. I've moved all the succulents to one side here, and I've just got 3 trays out that we could potentially use, and it's kind of causing me to try and make a bit of a decision as to what we're going to do. I could create a planting with multiple jades in, and I could do that potentially in a single small tray, or we could do it in a wider one. We're looking to put probably 5 of these jades into the forest, or we could go for the full-on wide one and then bring in the succulents. But what I'm kind of thinking is to use maybe the medium-sized one to bring in the jades, and create a just a jade only forest in an asymmetrical style. So that would ideally be the main focal point of the forest. But of course it's very squat at the moment, so everything else would either have to be trimmed down or just wait for this to grow and you know, overtake the height of a lot of these. Now some of these will get quite a bit of pruning to bring them back into the correct shape and size, but I think what we'll do is, I think the smaller tray will be too small. The forest would be a little bit too compact. So if we go with the middle tray, we can create our 5 jade forest in the middle tray, and then we'll make a choice as to what we do with the larger trays. We do have 2 of these. We do have the pines that are waiting to be put into a forest now that Christmas is over. They could potentially go into, you know, we could have a small tray forest, or we could have a large tray forest. It's the choices are endless, so we'll just have to make a decision and go with it. We have the small tray which could house all those succulents quite easily. So I think what we'll do is we'll prepare the medium-sized tray, and then we'll get a base layer of soil in and slowly introduce each jade tree into position. So this tray has, I did give it a bit of a wipe, but it seems to have got a little bit mucky again, but it's only going to be in here, and all these watermarks are going to reappear, so I'm not too worried about the look of the tray. It comes with the preformed drainage holes, and there's lots of drainage holes all over. So let's get a layer of soil into the bottom of the tray. Mound it up into the middle. Now this mix is Akadama, perlite, there's some eggshell in there, there's some worm castings in there, there's some all manner of particles in there making up this soil, and it's a good free draining soil, although there are some very fine particles in there because of the substrates and the worm castings that are in there. So this will be our base soil. We'll get the jades in, and then we'll put a surface level on to finish it off. So this is our main tree, although it's not our tallest, but because of how thick it is, it's going to be our main. So we'll just lift it out of this pot that it's in, and it's been doing quite well in that pot. We'll just have a quick comb out of the roots to see where they're at. It was just temporarily slip potted into there, and we did work on the roots ever so slightly, so it's it's only going to need putting into place and then working on. So that's kind of centralized it. This was the front, but I think we're going to make it the back because of the damage that there is to that trunk. As you can see there, the top layer of bark has rotted away and come away. So before we make a final decision, we'll have a quick look at the other side, and we do have some surface roots coming out there that are quite nice. There's some larger roots in there that's quite nice, but we need to hide that bit out the back until that grows in or something else happens for us. But it's you know, considering it's a bit of a lump, it's continuing to survive. So we'll mount that towards the middle, edging towards the back, and then we'll bring our other four around our main tree, and hopefully this tree will grow and do well. We'll not do any pruning on that because it's still recovering from where it was, but what we do need to do is to pull these jade trees out of the plastic pots that they're in and get them into position and prune them down. This one's nice and woody quite a lot of the way up the tree, and there's some interesting roots down the bottom here, so I don't know whether you can see that just in there. That'll be a good, you know, main tree to the side, if that makes sense. So you're going to have your two lesser trees on the outer edge, and then the two more main trees at the side of our main tree. So that's going to be a side main, and this one's going to be a side main, and then the two lesser ones should be forgot we were on air. The two lesser ones should be just towards the outside. So we'll start with the larger of them. We'll just take our tray away while we work on these four trees. I'll come down to this level. So we'll pull this one out of its pot. It's been drying off for a few days, so we'll just see where we're at and what's inside here. It looks like there's quite a bit been growing at the bottom, and I would imagine there's quite a bit of this trunk at the base that we can remove. There's all that nice root at that level, so that's our nice root in the Bari level, which means we can cut all the way back to about here to get our planting level. And then our main trunk divides really early there into two, and then you've got these other branches coming off. So we're going to reduce this quite dramatically to what it is. I'm just thinking about whether or not we should remove this lower branch due to how, you know, we need a bit of height into it. Even though we don't need the height at the moment, we are going to need the height going forward for the tree. But then it does divide again here, and this one isn't in the most ideal position. So I think with this tree we're going to end up with some cuttings off it, and potentially we're going to be down to probably just a stick by the time we've you know, pruned it back. If we just take off what's going to be our base level, we should be able to get it with these scissors, and we'll need to leave that to dry out. But we've got all that nice root at the top. But if we we've got this nice woody trunk. I would like this with the roots to be towards the front, which means this branch that comes out and heads straight off in front of the trunk definitely needs to go. So we'll remove that. That'll be a cut-in should we want to keep it. And we can just tidy that up. And then we've got the lower branch setting off here. I think what we might do is cut up here for now while we make our decisions. We'll remove that lower leaf because we're not going to need that. Then we've got the main branch going up with no division up to about there, so if we take it back to the first couple of sets of leaves of each of the top branches, it's taken a lot of weight off of this, and then we'll just take the top of that one away. That'll give us a lot of decisions to be able to make going forward. There's a leaf there going to the inside of the top of that canopy area. That needs to come away. So we'll leave those leaves on because they'll help suck some moisture and nutrients back into this stick, and that will be our first of the support trees. So we'll just leave the cuttings to one side there, and we will pull our next tree, and if we just rake out the soil, get as much of it away as we can. Again, this was a cut-in. It was planted not too deep, but it was planted quite deep, and we'll just take the bottom part of that away, and then we've got all this root out to the side which we can tidy up. We'll be able to get that washed through, and then we've got an old cut point there where it was cut, and then there's lots of branching going up, so we've got decisions to make about front or back, and then that'll help us make a decision as to which branches we keep. I think we'll leave the scar towards the back of this cutting, this tree, and it'll go to the left hand side of the main tree. So if we remove the right hand branch, it then comes up and divides into two up here. So if we bring that back to the first two sets of leaves, first two main sets, there is a set down here but they'll be a little bit too short, and then the branch that comes off the side, we'll take that back to that first leaf, and then there's one that comes out the back which we'll remove that altogether. So that's our second supporting tree, turned into a bit of a stick, but going forward it will grow and do quite well. Our next tree is a multi-chunk tree, and this will be a nice, once it's cut back, it will be a nice supporting tree towards the side of the forest. We've just got some old soil in there, some of that not very good soil that we removed. It must have just been slightly slip potted or carried some of that soil over with it. So we'll just clean that out and see where we're at. It's been cut down to that point there. So as we look at it, it's been rooting out of this multi-trunk point, doing really nice, and it's rooting out of the other side of that as well. I think we'll plant it to this sort of level again, so there's not a lot of old trunk that needs removing from the bottom, if at all, so we'll be able to keep that as it is. This one on the right hand side, as we're looking at it, we could remove that and keep the woodier ones. That's already rooted, so it'll make a nice cutting. And then we've got nice woody trunk disappearing up. That could end up being our main trunk going forward, because we have cut this off at some stage down here. So we'll just take each of these trunks back. I'll take that one for now back to there, and then these ones that are going up we'll take back just for now to those 2 points, so that we can make some decisions. So then, looking at what we've got a twin trunk, a branch coming straight out up at the front, which we don't really want, so we'll remove that. Just tidy that up ever so slightly with our scissors. And then we've got a trunk disappearing out the back, which isn't fully ideal. I think we'll just take the internal leaves off, and then we've got a couple of leaves arguing with each other at the top, which we'll take those away. So we'll plant that to the left hand side of the forest and see how that progresses. We're probably going to get some branching out of this cut point here as well, so that will go to the left hand side of the planting. And then our final one, this is, as we've got it in our hand here, is ideal to go to that right hand side. So if we just take the soil away, this has been planted in some organic soil with some bonsai soil over the top. So we'll just work that away as much as we can. It's very dense, this soil. It's been quite compact inside for those roots, so that's been okay for them. They've done well. It's not going to have been as free draining, but I don't massively overwater the jades, so it'll have done quite well. As you can see from the top, all that growth, it has been doing nice. So there's quite a bit to wash out of here and tidy up, and then we've got a nice woody trunk that goes up and up. So we're going to take that, it divides here and here, so we'll take those back to the first set of leaves of that division, and then this trunk that goes up to the side, we'll just take the tips off of that. There's a leaf on the inside, we'll get rid of that, and a lower leaf at the back, and these two larger leaves, far too big, we'll get rid of that, and we'll leave some of these top ones on just because they'll hold a lot of moisture that will feed back into the trunk and keep it nice and healthy. And that is going to go on our right hand side of our little forest. So let's get tidied up and we'll come back with the forest ready for planting. So we're back, the base layer is in position as it was. We've tidied up the roots, cleaned them out, got rid of some of the soil, and I've just sort of laid it in position so that you can see where we intend to put the trees. So if I just come in here, we'll just put the trees behind the pot if I can. It's just started to rain outside, so you might hear a bit of trickling of the rain on the roof. So our main tree is in position. It probably just needs raising up ever so slightly, so I will lift it, place a layer of soil in place, and then just work that down. And if we just look through, it just needs to go down ever so slightly more. That'll be our first one in position. Our first tree to the right hand side that's going to go in here, it's got plenty of roots on. We're not going to take any roots off. There's no root work to be done really. We'll just allow them to fan out as radially as possible, and we'll just work that into a position as close as we can, and we'll sort of create like a horseshoe kind of shape with this tree setting, so it will come round ever so slightly. So as that comes round here, the one leaf there is just protruding into where we're going to put our next tree, so we'll just take that away. I think that'll continue to do okay in there, and we've planted it round about the same sort of height as our first tree. Obviously it's not going to be asymmetrical because our two outside trees are higher, but this is, rather than bringing them back to a lower point and having a short stubby forest to work with, we need this tree to catch up with the trees that are going around it. So I'm not going to sacrifice the current growth that we've got in order for this to automatically catch up. This is a long-term project, and this tree will eventually catch up with these shoots that are coming out. There'll be a lot of pruning, a lot of sorting out to be done, but yeah, it'll take a little while to get into that. So our next tree for this side is going to be positioned slightly forward of the tree that we've just placed, and we'll just get it down and into the soil because the roots are a little bit higher on that one, and we'll just drop the soil around it and around the back. And because there's not the big heavy weight on the top of the tree, it should just sit in quite nicely. I've just knocked that one. So we'll just work that soil a little bit just into place. Just pat it down, and we do have the other side of the planting to do, so I'm just going to turn it towards where I'm kneeling down here, and we'll just look at our next tree, and this is to be our front. We'll send that root towards the back, allow that to sit there. The roots don't really go drastic on a jade, and they're quite shallow, so they shouldn't cause any problems, you know, not cutting the roots off, not doing too much root work. It will be okay. I'll just get a little bit on that root at the back, and then our final tree, which we need to try and get as deep as possible for this higher root here, which we will be able to get into the soil, but we'll force that down really towards the bottom as far as we can. Push the roots out radially, and then we'll just fill that in. Work it in ever so slightly. There's not a lot of working in to do with this soil. The roots pretty much are in position as soon as you lay them in. We're not going to water it straight away because we need some of that just to heal itself up. That has gone together quite nicely. I think I made the right decision to put the jades in their own forest in this medium potting. I might be wrong, but we'll never really know because we'll not see what we would have got with the others. I'll just level off the soil. So that doesn't look too bad. There's a lot of time and effort required on this little forest. Looks like some sticks in pots at the moment, so you know it will take some time to grow in. We'll make lots of different decisions as we go along. We'll be chopping and changing the structure, but it gives us a starting point. Now we do want to put a top layer on that just to dress the soil and make it look as nice as we can. And we have the white stone. We have, what have we got? We've got the flora gravel, which could be quite nice. We've got the original potting grit. We've got some sand and gravel there. There's some sand and gravel towards the back, which is quite nice. It's similar to the flora. We've got some aquarium gravel. That's quite nice for the top of a succulent stroke jade potting. We've got another bag of the alpine mix, and then we've got some aquarium gravel pre-washed. I think because this is a nice little handy bag, we've got some nice stuff. That flora gravel and this aquarium gravel could be an option, but I think what we'll do is we'll go with the small bag because I can manhandle this quite easily, and we can pour it on top of our planting. So we'll pour that to the front of the trees. Kind of blends in with the soil underneath, but it's a nice top dressing to have, and because it blends in so well, it's actually going to be quite nice to look at. So it's a nice aquarium gravel finish, to be fair. We'll just get some around the back. We're not going to see too much around the back, but we'll pour a bit on. The on air side needs fixing. I must sort that. A little bit more into there. And that's quite a good setting, if I don't say so myself. That'll settle in really nicely, and when we water it, all those stones are going to lose any bits of dust. I will just quickly show you that by watering the front bits, and they'll get nice and shiny, as you can see there. So as you water these, it becomes nice and shiny, and you can't really see the soil underneath. Beautiful. I did have a little thought. I've got some moss here that's grown in a pot. I did wonder about putting a little moss patch to one side, and I think I might do that. I'll see what this moss comes out like out of this pot. You see there, it's grown up on all the, you see the moss roots there, that light brown. It's come out of all this mud, all that soil. It's a very nice bit of moss. I'll just give it a bit of a trim on the top. There's quite a bit of growth coming out of there. But it'd be a shame just to throw this in the bin. Let's get a pair of scissors and cut the main part away. And I think we could place that into the soil and have a little moss patch. So let's get our rake, whatever I've done with that. Okay, so I've got the rake here. We'll just rake away the top layer that we've just placed in, and then we'll just scrape some of the soil to one side, and then we can get it in and around our little moss patch. I'll let it come to the front of the pot, and we'll just push around it, give it a firm contact with what's underneath. And I actually think that might do quite nice. Just a nice little mossy green patch growing. It was only going to go in the bin out of that pot anyway, so it can sit in there and hopefully do okay. We'll give it a little spray with the water, and then we'll just mist the top of the trees just so that they can take the moisture. I need to just tidy up this little edge here. It's showing more soil than it is the top dressing, so we'll just tidy that away and push that in, and then just bring that top dressing over. Might just need a small sprinkle around it just to help tidy it up. But that's our Jade Forest moss patch garden, and I think Pete would like this one, so we'll just put Pete in the planting to the side of the moss, sniffing around, making sure that everything is in good order. I'll just give him a little spray because he's got a bit of dirt on him there. But Inspector Pete is in the forest, making sure that everything is as it should be. So that's going to do it for part 2. We will come back for part 3. Time is cracking on, and this afternoon West Ham play Leeds in the Premier League, and that's a match that I do want to catch, as I've been ratted out as being a West Ham fan, West Ham United. We'll enjoy that, and then I'll come back later on and we'll do a succulent forest in the smaller of the trays, because that will go nicely all together. See you in part 3.